Now what I was saying is we're going to use the add and the smooth operations only. We're not going to use the scale or replace. So if you're tempted to for some reason, just forget they even exist. Now, before you use the smooth, you're going to want to make sure that you fully understand why I only have 2 influence objects unlocked. Okay? If you don't understand that, then you will need to ask me in person, maybe try to explain it in a little more detail. But basically, if I smooth a set of vertices, so the vertices that I paint over will try to be smooth. I can hold down B to adjust my brush size, and the circle represents my brush size. I can click smooth, and you can see that it kind of shifts a little bit. You know, I have some grayscale values in here now. Okay, the vertices that are turned gray are not going to have 100% to any one influence. Now, by having this shoulder joint unlocked and the spine joint unlocked, I know that whatever is being pushed away from the shoulder is being added to the spine. And that's what I'm guaranteeing by making sure that only these 2 joints are unlocked. Okay, it's important to understand. Now, with the add operation, it's also important to make sure that you only have 2 joints unlocked at a time. In doing so, you can guarantee that when you're adding weight to adding weighting information to a certain joint, that you're only stealing from one source. So there you go, I stole from the spine. And if I go back to the spine, you can see that it shifted. You know, the grayscale values shifted around. Okay, so you can undo if you make some big mistake. Now, how do you know if what you're doing is working well or not? Well, if you middle mouse click and drag, then it brings up your rotate tool. And then you can middle mouse click and drag on your rotate tool handles, and it will rotate things. Now I grabbed the spine joint. That's the one I was working with, so that's the one I'm currently rotating. But if it might be more helpful if I were to grab this shoulder, middle mouse click, and I can rotate this shoulder around. And then I can look and see if I feel like my weighting information is accurate or not. And so obviously I'm controlling a lot of the hair and the head. I don't want to be doing that. But I'm just looking at the coat for now. Okay, and the way I really want to judge this is to see what it looks like in the case of the shoulders, what it looks like when she brings her arms down. Okay, and in fact, I can leave this bent if I want to, and I can get back to the editing paint weights, editing the weighting information by left clicking in the user interface anywhere. Okay, now sometimes it's nice to be able to see the edges when you're painting weights. And so if you scroll down in your tool settings and go to open up this display section, you can click on this show wireframe. And now I can see the wireframe. I'm going to go back to this smooth mode. And I'm going to hold down B to change my brush to a smaller size. And I'm going to smooth out the weighting information right here. Okay, and as I'm doing this, you'll be able to see that these vertices are shifting around a little bit to try to follow the joints. according to the percentages that are now set. You can wear out a mouse really fast doing this sort of stuff. So if you have a Wacom tablet, like I do, of some sort, or any sort of digitizing drawing device, then you can get down a whole lot more strokes really fast that way. You still want to have your mouse handy though. Okay, so let's say that's how I wanted it. So I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to switch back to my rotate tool. I'm going to select this shoulder joint here. I got to go to my status line and activate the selecting of joints. Go to my channel box. I'm going to set my rotates back to 0 on this joint. And now, let's say I had this sweater completely painted just how I wanted it to be. Well, I can mirror the weights, so I only have to paint 1/2 of this mesh. And then the other half will pick up on those changes when I tell it to. So, by having the mesh selected, I can hold down space, go to skin, edit smooth skin, and see, mirror skin weights. I'm going to go to the option box, and you want to look at your character from the front view, whatever is front for your character, and you want to look to see which of these two letters is stacked on top of each other in this origin. This axes. And if you don't have this showing, then you need to get it showing. You'll do that by going to Display, Heads Up Display, View Axes. Okay, so my Y and Z are stacked on top of each other. So I want to mirror across the YZ, and I want to take it from the positive X to the negative X side. And that's by looking at this, again, looking at this view axis. I know positive X is the side that points out, and the negative is the opposite of that direction. Okay, we're going to choose surface association. We're going to choose closest point on surface. And then our influence association, we're going to set that to 1:1 for the first one. And for the second one, choose closest joint. And then we want to check normalize. We want to have that checked. So we'll click mirror. And now I can press Y to reuse my last tool. It'll be the same as clicking right here. I go back to my tool settings and scroll up. And if I select on spine, you can see that now this other arm is not part of it's not wide anymore. That just means that it actually belongs to the shoulder right joint now. Okay, so that was just to show you that you don't have to paint weights on both sides of the mesh, and it's tedious enough to have to do one. Okay, now we know how to mirror weights. We know how to use the component editor. We have a little bit of a sampling of the paint weights tool, paint skin weights tool. We want to continue to edit these weights. So the reason I like to block out my mesh with the weighting information is so that I can go through and I can lock and unlock things really easy in the future and not have to worry about where things are going. So now I'm working on my left side arm, and I've got the elbow unlocked and the shoulder unlocked. I'm going to click on Add, and I'm going to go to the elbow. I'm going to start adding weight to the elbow. I can increase my brush size to something larger. And now I want to explain these two attributes down here, the opacity and the value. Your opacity is, it's a lot like